and future, or you can put a note in the chat and we will recognize you. Are there any questions before we get started? All right. Thanks, Lani and the city people and our recorder and vice chair and treasurer for all being here, and the rest of you, thank you for being here. We have two guests here, or we have more than two guests. We have two public guests associated with the Beaverton Committee on Aging. So I'd like to have Chris and Sally introduce themselves, and you have about 5 minutes for a little presentation.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm Chris Oliveira, and as Ellen said, I have become an activist in recent months with the rollout of the vaccine. And what happened was when the state started rolling out the vaccine, they decided to use a lot of methods that were not compatible with the populations to whom they were trying to get shots in arms, namely senior citizens. Everything was web-based and complicated. And so I saw a major barrier and started looking for ways to address that. And I first started out on Nextdoor, essentially trolling for people to help in terms of helping them get signed up. And I noticed a couple other people doing the same thing, and I reached out to them and I said, you know, we can all do what we're doing and help people one or two at a time, or we can organize a little bit and try to get some systemic change at a higher level than what, you know, we can do on our own. So that's how we kind of came together. And this is actually before I hooked up with Positive Charge, PDX. It was a couple of us, we started testifying at this House Committee on COVID at the state level and started going to the Beaverton Council on Aging meetings. I testified at a City of Beaverton meeting. And really, I was asking for low-tech systems in order to get senior citizens enrolled, things like mailers and this old thing called a phone line that people know how to use. And so, you know, I have been doing that for a couple of months. And along the way, one of my colleagues at Nextdoor pointed me towards Positive Charge PDX, who had started a significant project with a lot of volunteers to actually, they set up a web platform and they set up ways to enroll people into this platform and then have volunteers reach out and connect with the senior citizens. And I'm gonna let Sally talk a little bit more about how that works in just a moment. I just want to tell you a little bit about some of the success we had advocating. We did get OHA to expand the 211 phone lines. We got a lottery system in place for equitable access to the appointment center. Before it was essentially sheer chaos and people, you know, just getting thrown out of the system repeatedly. And one of the ongoing challenges that I'm still, quite frankly, pestering Pat Allen about is in the pharmacies. The pharmacies don't have phone numbers right now that people can call to schedule an appointment. Everything at the pharmacy level is web-based except for one chain. And so he told me that OHA is in the middle of implementing guidance that's going to require the pharmacies to offer a phone line for disabled and people with language barriers. And I am continuing to request, shall we say, that they add people with lack of access to technology. And that is not just senior citizens. As we move through that rollout, we are talking about, you know, people in the BIPOC community. We're talking about farm workers. We're talking about a lot of people who really don't have enough technology in their toolbox to access the systems that we have right now. So that is one thing that I'm working on. I'm hoping that we can get an army of advocates to push for the same thing. And with that, I think I'd like to turn it over to Sally, who's going to talk more about what positive charge, what the project actually looks like.
Okay, now you can hear me. I'm Sally and I'm with Positive Charge, and Positive Charge started in November of 2016. For those of you who haven't heard of us, our entire mission is to amplify kindness, and every event and every project that we do is with the goal of reaching that mission. We do everything, giving time and doing collections, doing art projects, and everything with the goal of making a positive impact in the community. And some of those things have to do with emergency kindness, and this is one of those. We see something that just comes up and we see a need and we do it. This is one of those things. We have about 80 volunteers and doing a variety of things. We have different teams, and for this vaccine project, we are over 500 people now who we have helped get vaccine appointments. People call in or they email in. Sorry, they don't email in. They register on an electronic form. And we have helped in the beginning, we pretty much go or exclusively go on the state eligibility criteria. And it's on the honor system. Of course, we're not there to judge anyone or to let anyone know if they qualify or not. We have the Oregon website, which allows people to filter themselves out. Once they let us know that they are eligible, then we go ahead and take down information, and then we find appointments for them and let them know where they are. So far, we've helped endless numbers of seniors because they came through first, of course. We are now getting into other people who are eligible and have been eligible. Mostly it's been seniors. We are working with 211 right now to arrange our process for taking on their excess, their overload. So they'll have direct access to our registration, our online registration, to enter people into our system. We are currently forming relationships and seeking out interpreters, because we have 1,200 flyers going out to Meals on Wheels seniors in Washington County right now. And so we have transportation that we're arranging. We have, and we're looking for interpreters, to help us with people who speak a variety of languages. And that's also another connection that we have with 211. And mostly it's helping people who don't have access to the internet and are very frustrated with the current system. So that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, we have about 1 minute for questions.
Joe?
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for doing that, because I got online, tried to do it back when they said over 75. I'm somewhat computer literate, and I just couldn't do it. A buddy of mine, same age, he gave up. He's a PhD, for crying out loud, PSU, and he couldn't figure it out. So
I know.
Thank you for helping out. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sharon, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute, sweetie.
I was holding down the space bar and it didn't work. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, Chris and Sally, putting your contact information into the chat, I would love to get involved as a retired NICU nurse. I started the process of getting involved with MRC, and I would rather keep it local and keep it with you guys if possible. If there's and also Sally, on a different note and not for this conversation here, I want to ask you more about art kits, because I'm with a nonprofit art gallery where we are giving art kits to Domestic Violence Resource Center, Home Plate, a bunch of, so I want to talk to you offline about that.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, Terry, last question, comment?
Just a comment. My friends found out about this, and I think it's just amazing that the Native Americans at Grand Ronda were giving vaccines, and they were able to get vaccines at the casino. I mean, there are some very unusual venues for vaccines, and they found it. I don't know how they found it, but I think if there was a collection of all of these, not only the pharmacies, I've seen that, that's really great. But I think some of these other sites, like the pop-up sites, usually people find out about them after the fact, so it would be nice to know things like that in a couple of days of advance. So that would be useful for this, especially this next surge of folks.
Right. And I'll mention, just because you mentioned that they are not holding people to state eligibility criteria. You can be anybody and go ahead and sign up with them, unlike the pharmacies, healthcare systems, that type of thing. Yeah. Is that it?
All right, thank you. Thank you both for coming. This is exactly the sort of community bonding and resource sharing that this committee was made for. So thank you both. And Joe stole my thunder, and so did everyone else, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Feel free to stick around or hop out if you like. Rhonda, are you ready from the Beaverton Police Department? You have 10 minutes.
Okay. Wow. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. It's good to see everybody. I'm kind of bummed that I don't get to really see you in person, but maybe when all this lifts, I'll be lucky enough to come back and see you all in person. Just like to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about my career and what's going on at the PD, and then I'd like to just open it up for questions that you guys may have. Be happy to answer anything, and if I don't know the answer, I'll circle back around with Lani and answer your questions after this. So again, my name is Ronda Groshong. I started with the Beaverton Police Department in July 1995. I've worked quite the gamut of positions. I was on patrol for 6 years. I was in detectives for 6 years. I was promoted to sergeant, then lieutenant, then captain, and here I am today, all over 25 years. It seems like yesterday, but it's not really. So currently, some big highlights about the PD. As you all probably know, we moved into our new building there at Hall and Allen in September of 2020. We're still getting moved in and getting used to the building. Going from what we had there on Griffith to 77,000 square feet is, quite amazing. And we are so honored and grateful to our community and the council and the mayor for the support that it took to have a police facility. I think the thing at this point that rocked us the most was, well, two things during the year was the COVID, and we're still getting around that. We have about, I think it was 80% of our officers have been fully vaccinated, which is good. We had a couple outbreaks early on, but no one got seriously ill. So we're very grateful for that. And so just dealing with that, providing our community members with the service that they are accustomed to and used to with the Beaverton Police Department, all while handling COVID. So as you know, I'm not saying anything new to you guys. You just hearing Chris and Sally talk, just trying to help people and get people through these challenging times, and especially victims of crime. It's been pretty difficult, but we've adapted and overcame, and I think we're doing okay there. And then the second thing was the social unrest or racial tensions with the killing of George Floyd. you know, I like to say this, I said this at, I can't remember what meeting, it was a couple weeks ago, that transparency, what transparency when I was hired in 1995 isn't what it is today, or isn't what it means today. And I think when I say that, I mean that since I've been a Beaverton police officer, I think we've always tried to do a great job at community outreach and being as transparent as possible. But that really, you know, especially with the last year, come to realize that that's not enough and we need to improve. And so that's what we're working on. As far as I've worked with the Human Rights Advisory Committee on their recommendations to the City Council, and we're doing as much community outreach with different groups in the community as much as, you know, COVID allows us to do. And so that's really been the bulk of, I was interim chief from, Mayor Doyle appointed me interim chief from June of 2019 to, and then in June of 20, he appointed me chief. So the whole time I've been I call it the real chief. This is my life for the last year. It's been crazy and wild, and yeah, hang on. But you know, we're still out there and keeping everybody safe. And so yeah, that's about what I have, you know, for an introduction and what's going on at the PD. And I'd just like to open it up to any questions that anybody has. And you can ask me anything.
All right, I see Joe first.
Get on mute here. Okay, great. I'm from Philadelphia. And
Okay.
I was there when Frank Rizzo was the mayor.
Okay.
And any of you know about Frank Rizzo, you know it was a very difficult city and a very difficult police force. It is amazing what a night and day it is to deal with the police officers here. You know, I see them every now and then. I wave to them, they wave back. I mean, this is like, I don't know any of the other folks here where they're from, but in Philly, you're lucky if you saw a police officer. When you did, they're probably chasing you or something. I mean, this is beautiful. So you keep up the good work, and I just love living in Beaverton, and I'll keep waving to those police officers.
Okay. Thank you. And they appreciate it, especially right now. They love to see people waving at them and smiling. Helps them get through the day.
Great.
Rhonda,
All right,
are they?
can I go ahead?
Yeah. Sorry, Helen. Are they still collecting stop data, and do you have an update on that?
Yes, they are. For those of you who don't know, it was 2017, the Criminal Justice Commission or a House bill was passed, 2355, that we officers who stop motoring public or come into contact, stop a pedestrian, have to record race, gender, age if they don't know, you know, if they're not holding a driver's license, approximate age. And it's to the best of the officers, it's the officers' discretion. So when, you know, they can't ask, and I feel they shouldn't ask somebody what their race is. I think that's, I just don't think that's right. But so we record, the officers are, every single stop they have to record. And at the end of each year, that data is collected, and then the Criminal Justice Commission does this big study for each agency and comes back with the results. And the first year, full year, which was all of 2018, no, maybe it was, they passed in 2017. We started in 2018. It was a report and it was on our website. And then we just got the results back, or not just, but in January of the results for 2020. And no big difference in changes of years. The data showed that we had just under 2% more stops, or disparity. I don't even want to use disparity. I don't know what the term is, but with Hispanic traffic stops compared to Caucasian, there was no disparity, no marked disparity between African Americans and whites, Caucasian stops. That they do a bunch of studies. They do what they call veil of darkness. So they compare They really delve down and compare minorities stopped during the day versus at night, because the fact of you can't see through the windows at night is the theory there. And so they look to see if one of the tests is they look to see if more minorities are pulled over in the daytime than nighttime. And they really delve down. They do time of day, they do certain intersections. I mean, it gets really complicated or really in depth. And so we are just getting ready. Every year we do a bias-based policing report. And we put out if we have any disparate treatment complaints and the results of those. And then also we add in the stop data, and that report is coming out and will be posted on our website. I don't have the exact numbers, so I can, when I do get that report, I can pass it on to Lani. It'll be on our website, but I will pass it on to Lani so she can share it with you guys.
Okay, Beatrice, next question.
Hello, I'm a junior at Beaverton High School, and I just have a question about school resource, also part of the, so I'm kind of involved in this issue, and I'm curious, could you give an update on your decision regarding school resource officers?
Okay, sure. So Beatrice, either my internet quit working for a second or yours did. So I'm understanding your question is you want to know the status of the SRO program?
Yes.
Okay. So as everybody probably knows, a lot of varying opinions on the school resource officer program. I've attended several meetings with Mr. Grotting and Mr. Mead, and with the mayor and city council and our interim city manager, Mr. Wilson, on the status of the SROs. Right now, the program is still, the Beaverton School District, or Mr. Grotting wants the SROs in the school. With that being said, we are working on what else we can do differently as far as training and when officers are called to the school. For example, our lieutenant and our captain and our sergeant are meeting with school administration to come up with parameters or protocol for when the police are called. For example, I tell this story. I remember one day we were called because a 6-year-old who had some behavioral issues was tearing up a classroom, and he was going to school at Conestoga Middle School. It was a special education program, but he was 6, but he was at a middle school. And he was tearing up a classroom, and he ran out of the classroom, and teachers followed him, but they called us. And so we have all these officers who are surrounding this kiddo who don't want to put hands on him because it's not appropriate, but they don't want him to run out on Shoals Ferry. He'd made it that far. And so is that the right scenario? And I'm giving you an example. We're looking at several of these scenarios for the police to even respond. My thought is no. And so is the admin at Beaverton School District feels the same. And so we are working on a whole list of protocols on when the police are called and other avenues to take maybe instead of police response, like mental health and all that. So all that to say, I don't know exactly where it stands. I believe our school resource officers do an excellent job. They do a lot of outreach. I think they should be in the school. That final decision isn't up to me. It's up to the mayor and the counselors, and whatever is decided in the school district. We'll live with and we'll go on from there. But that's basically the status. We're working, and then also the school resource officers are going to be mandated to go to training with Beaverton school staff on trauma-informed care and there's a whole long list of trainings that our officers are going to actively attend with the teachers and administrative staff to hopefully get a better working relationship. They have a good working relationship, but strengthen that working relationship and better service the kids in the schools that are suffering from, mental health crisis or learning disabilities or whatever they may have going on. Beatrice, did that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up question?
I just have a quick follow-up. Thank you so much for answering that. But do you think there's like a timeline or when this could be, the decisions could be made, since I'm going back to hybrid starting late April. So do you know if it's going to start being implemented as soon as possible?
Yes, the thought is to have at least the bare bones up and running. It kind of hit us by surprise. I think a lot of us thought that school wasn't even going to start this year, and we would have a little bit of time. And then thankfully, I'm glad kids are going back to school. In April, we were hit with, okay, they are going back. They're not out of the schools. What do we do to make, to service the kids and our community in the best way we can with them still in the schools? And that's, diversity, equity, inclusion training, and all that. And so we're kind of rushing it, but the bare bones will be in by the time you hit school in April. It'll look a little bit different, but we'll see as time goes on. I don't know a timeline. I mean, Mr. Grotting personally told me he thinks they should be in. He's he's Beaverton school superintendent, for those of you who don't know that. He has no plans at this point to remove them, so I'm not sure.
All right, thanks everyone. Any other comments or questions, please route them directly to Ronda or to Lani, and we'll have a follow-up session. But thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys were
easy.
This
is a high priority. When we asked for recommendations from the committee, this was a really high priority, so we really appreciate it.
Okay.
And if there's like a more like a presentation that you have, we always would love to have you back if you have something specific you wanted to present about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Okay, now we're going to go to Megan with the new restaurant update. You also have 10 minutes, so about 7:07. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ellen. My name is Megan Braunsten. I work at City Hall as staff with the Community Development Department. I am part of our restaurant strategy team, and I am going to share my screen and give everyone some wonderful updates on where we are with our restaurant strategy and downtown. Now, somehow you guys have gone away. I thought that I'd figured it out. So please do use audio if you need to tell me anything. So, restaurant strategy. So this is a strategy that was adopted in 2016 that stated, we have a lot of cool things starting to burgeon in downtown Beaverton. We had DeCarli's in Naquan and Dukubi and and some really great restaurants right in this restaurant row almost hub at First and Watson. And this strategy said, you know what, I think we can grow that. I think we can actually make a there and a hub for our residents to be able to go down and park once and then decide where they want to go for dinner and make a full restaurant row. So our goal was to make Old Town the premier restaurant destination on the west side. And frankly, I think that we've succeeded in doing that. The group has had a lot of success. We have helped 33 new restaurants open since January 2017 when we started collecting data and really kicked this process off. We have had 11 close during that time or move out of downtown because they needed to expand to larger footprints. We also have the great news of during the last year, during COVID-19 pandemic, when a lot of restaurants across the nation are being decimated because of all of the closures, the residents of Beaverton supported downtown restaurants so much. We've had more restaurants open than have closed. We have had 8 officially open that you can now visit, and only 5 have closed. And between you and me, only one of those, possibly 2, was really because of COVID. The rest were already planned closures of just businesses growing in different ways. And on top of all of that, we have 12 under construction and about to open in downtown for all of you to be able to go visit and have fun this year for the most part, plus 2 that are a sale pending. And so I wanted to go through each of these today and just make sure that you know where they are. So for those of you who haven't been down to City Hall recently, Hyatt House Hotel is finished. It is now open. This is an old picture. There's no more fence. And I'm really excited, since I first created the slide, they have a bar inside that is officially open. So this is the one that I'm about to show you that's actually open. All of the rest will be open soon. So Hyatt House Hotel is now officially open. So that's at Rose Beachy and the New Street Thayer, right near City Hall. Clover and Booch, that is our new kombucha bar, will be opening here shortly. In the next few weeks is the anticipated opening date. And they are located also in this area in the crescent-shaped building. They are the last business. And so it used to be an architecture firm right behind Brick House Coffee. And now it's a wonderful, it's all finished. So if you want to go peek in the windows, you can at least peek. And it's going to be a wonderful kombucha bar. They also will have a lot of lovely gifts and plants and fun things to sell. And it's going to be, I'm super excited for them to open here shortly. Let's go over to the bakery blocks. So as many of you know, Beaverton Bakery closed a couple years ago, and the entire block was purchased off by Miracle Signs, who is currently housed in the old theater building just off to the left of this screen. They have rehabbed, or they're in the process of rehabbing, all of the interior space. So actually all of these, what look like 4 separate buildings, are actually all connected on the inside. For over the years, Beaverton Bakery just grew and grew and grew. But we have 3 new restaurant tenants coming in, which is very exciting. So Binary Brewing has decided to grow from their current location over in Garden Home. They want to expand, so they're going to be moving the full brewing facility and a tap room here into where we used to go in to the retail area of Beaverton Bakery. So that's number 1 here on that photo. With them, and you can walk into the second door where the historic home is Rough Draft. And they are currently a burger cart that is ready to expand into brick and mortar. Binary Brewing and Rough Draft are really going to be synergistic. They're going to be working together in that you will walk in and it'll be shared seating. So you can order beverages from Binary and then order beer, burgers, etc. from Rough Draft. And I haven't been there yet, but Rough Draft here is amazing burgers, and we're super excited to have them. The fact that we haven't had a burger joint come to downtown yet, I think, is bonkers to me. So I'm super excited that they're coming. And then the third, so where Big O's just left us a few months ago, super sad, and where the wedding cake shop used to be. So that whole green building on the right, CC Coffee Company, which is a Portland-based coffee company, super rad place. They have like a motorcycle showroom in their current space in Portland. So they're going to be coming and opening here a full coffee shop and cafe. So we're very excited. Okay, this one I'm sure everyone's been waiting for and watching. So this is where Star's Strip Bar used to be, over off of Beaverton Hillsdale Highway at Lombard. It is fully under construction. It's fully gutted and will hopefully open actually in the next month or 2. They're about to start hiring and they're ordering furniture. So you know that they are really close. It is going to be K-Town Barbecue, where you can, on the inside, all of the tables on the inside, you can cook barbecue on your own space. Or here's some imagery of what the outdoor-ish spaces are going to be. And I can't wait for them to open. Right across the street from there, this is hot off the presses. Most people don't know about this, so that's super exciting, as in it's only hot off the presses for the last week. The Waba Grill has officially been sold, that property, to Burger Stevens. And Burger Stevens is going to put in a new concept called Chez Stevens, where they're going to have a French bistro, and they're going to have lovely cocktails and a wonderful French food, and it's going to be this really fun experience. Yes, I hope everyone has a snack with them right now. I'm going to make you hungry. I should have started this entire thing by letting you know that. Okay, so let's hop over all the way over to Angel and Third. So this is where La Vida Veggie used to be. Oh, I was so sad when they left. So this is, the bottom is, if you haven't been over, they've done a full new storefront. It's been really hard taking a good picture. So this is the design of the new storefront. And where La Vida Veggie space used to be, Yubi Sushi has now basically designed exactly this. If you go peek in the windows, it looks exactly like this wonderful drawing. They are just finishing up some hood work, and they should also open in the next month or so. Okay, so this is the current Bank of Beaverton building. So we're now in Restaurant Row. This is on Watson and Farmington. It's currently the yellow, used to be a dance studio building. And this is one where BURA, the Beaverton Urban Redevelopment Agency, purchased this building and then immediately did an RFP to find a new property owner who was willing to make this a great gateway to Restaurant Row. And we sold it, and the property owner, Travis Henry, has partnered with Chef's Table, which is a restaurant group that has done 30 or 40 of the best restaurants in Portland. And they're bringing their Loyal Legion concept here. And so Loyal Legion is 99 local Oregon taps. They might have Washington. I should just say local taps. And this beautiful bar space on the inside. And they are taking over the entire outdoor parking area and doing outdoor seating. And this was the plan before COVID, when now outdoor seating is even more popular. And so it should be a really great area, and this will be opening this summer. I really need to get an updated picture on this building. If you guys haven't been downtown, the Nacwan building has fully renovated and it is looking hot. So this is an old picture. As you can tell, I stole it from Google Maps at some point. But where Dooku B used to be, First Street Pocha will be going in. And so this is Korean street food. It is not a competitive menu to Nacwan Korean restaurant immediately next door. It is what they call Korean street food, which I'm excited to explore. And they're under construction now. And so they also hope to open this summer. Okay, going catty corner to that, again, First and Watson still, the former Hot Box building. Here, if you go on the top picture, you'll see that DeCarli's Dining was part of this building. It's staying. So DeCarli's is staying and the dining room is staying, but all of what they had been painted, what looks like has always looked like a chocolate bar color to me. The chocolate bar color is currently fully gutted and under construction for 2 new restaurants to come in. The first one here on the Watson side is going to be Sudra. This is a design concept, one of the initial ones. It's now been refined a bit, but Sudra is this wonderful plant-based Indian restaurant out of Portland. And we are very excited to have them come in. And then Sizzle Pie. Oh, I'm so excited. Their pizza is so yummy. They are coming over on the First Street side. Both of them will be opening about the same time in the summer. And we are I think I've said excited now 40 times. Someone should really have been counting, but I'm really excited that they're coming. Okay, so this is the property sale pending. This property does not finish sale until mid-April. I normally would not share news of this nature, but they have gone out to the press with these designs and that they're coming, and so I am making it public. Breakside Brewing has purchased this 1/3 of a block. So the top part here is Farmington, and then we have Angel Avenue here, right across from what is now the West Line, what used to be the Rise Old Town, and then First Avenue is here. So this is where Rose City Modern used to be, and phase 2 of the project won't open until early 2022. Is going to be Breakside Brewing bringing a brew pub into the majority of this space. It's a little larger than they need, so they will probably have another tenant space available. But they will be taking all of this parking that was on this corner and making it outdoor dining. And this will be a little higher end food. They have Tasty and Alder and Tasty and Sons, one of their chefs has hopped over to be one of their primary chefs. So we're going to have some great food and we're going to have some great beer. And then we're going to have a Breakside experience this summer. So this is phase 1. So phase 1 is they want to make a food cart plaza. I don't know why, but they don't like the term food cart pod. It's a food cart plaza. So we're going to go with that. That's what they want. So it is a Breakside food cart plaza where it is where they're hoping to have this great container. So like a train container converted into a bar. That's a fun exercise. Go Google container bars. They are really cool. And then they're going to bring in, because they don't want to provide food, they're going to bring in some great food carts into this space. It does look as though they will be demolishing the current Vault building. The Vault has found a new home in downtown, so we are not losing that really wonderful asset that we have in downtown. But the building itself has way too much upgrades that need to happen. It wasn't worth them remodeling it, which had been their original plan. Okay, so that's everything that's coming. Restaurant strategy, next steps. Beaverton is now on the radar. Folks are coming to us to be wanting to locate in downtown. I am no longer having to pick up the phone and do cold calls, which is what I started in 2017, was a whole bunch of cold calls, which is how we got our original ex novo Big's Chicken, those folks. So we're in the middle of considering some changes to the program. We have a lot of space that's happening over here in Beaverton Central, such as if you guys, again, haven't been to City Hall, you should go look. This is even an older picture now of the garage that's on, that Bura is building, and this beautiful, I love this piece of artwork, but it has 6,700 square feet of commercial underneath that Bura is going to own. So we need to fill it. We want to be encouraging and supporting increased activity in Old Town. So we're not giving up on Old Town. We've made a there. We need to make the there function with parking and all of the other things that go with a bunch of people using our downtown. We want to elevate that Old Town brand as the premier restaurant destination of the West Side, because it is and it's going to remain that. And we want to support an inclusive downtown. What does that look like? What do customers who are from BIPOC, who are persons of color, from their background, what kind of new retail or restaurants are they wanting to see in downtown, whether it's in Beaverton Central or over in Old Town? And how do we assist the business owners that a large majority of the ones that we have been able to recruit, luckily, have been persons of color as the owners? We want to continue management of our successful storefront and tenant improvement grant programs. These have been absolutely key to the strategy, to the restaurant strategy success. And I'm actually the one who's been managing those two programs. So because I am, that means I get to give you guys some sneak peeks of some photos, because I get to, that's my job and I get to. So two of our current restaurants that have also been doing some upgrades. Here is Mocha Tea House before, and if you haven't driven past recently, dun, 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 it looks totally different on the outside. And then this is the inside before. And this is the inside now. It's completely changed. They have a brand new seating area upstairs, which I wasn't able to get a sexy picture of, but it will be a completely different area that you can both probably reserve for events, or you can just go up and relax and enjoy your tea. They're also in the middle of upgrading their menu, though they promised that brick toast that we have known has been there for several users. They'll continue to have the brick toast, but they're going to upgrade the rest of the menu. So definitely stay tuned to enjoy them. And the other one is one of my lunchtime regulars, Tan Tan, has been there for 27 years or something, and they're finally upgrading. And the outside, it was just in the middle when I took this picture. So this is mid-construction, but ultimately will be that design that you see down below. See these lovely planters? Picture them with these lovely plants. See this mural? Picture it on the wall. And the inside, this is what it used to look like. And it used to be this confusing. You could go into either door and you never knew which one was the front door, and it was kind of confusing. They have completely changed the flow. And they've put in an internal mural, and it just looks amazing. So just wait for it. These are not after photos, these are mid-construction. So just go check them out when they open. I'm so excited for them. I know that was a lot. And so I am happy to take any questions about any of what I just said or anything else that is happening in downtown. I also happen to manage the outdoor seating program, so I'm happy to answer any questions about that, but any questions?
All right, Birgit, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, you are only doing the downtown. You're not including the area around Allen, where there's at least one really great restaurant there.
Oh, I love Allen Boulevard. Don't get me wrong. The restaurant strategy had determined that we really needed to focus on one specific area to make it really pop. And so Old Town, making that the restaurant row, was our first strategy. I can also say, though, because Storefront Improvement Grant Program, which I manage, is also over on Allen. And if you haven't been to Lima Peruvian Restaurant, that is one of my all-time favorites. And then also when it's open, so San Francisco Market has a great little restaurant on the inside, and then the door immediately next to that leads into a hallway that leads back to the commercial kitchen that is the commercial kitchen for Rico's Tacos, which is a truck that is so yummy. And so when they're open for lunch, they have the best burritos ever. So I would those are my favorites personally when I am over there. And I keep meaning to try that truck that does the smoking there, on the smoking of chicken, not smoking of like cigarettes, but the smoking of the chicken, the smoker on Lombard and Allen. But I have heard rave reviews about it. I haven't tried it yet.
Top notch.
I think it's called
We tried
Cafe.
it. Top notch.
Yes.
Okay. Eric with a K, go ahead with a question.
Megan, you said the outdoor seating program. What are the plans, or are there plans at this point for that area on First Street that's closed off? Is that something they're thinking about extending when COVID's over?
Absolutely. So the Commons, or it was the First Street Dining Commons, I've started calling it the Commons, but yes, I manage that area as well. And the plan is for sure for it to stay through this summer. And then we're right in the middle of exploring, do we want to keep it longer? And if we do, what would management of that be? Because it was one thing for a random staff person who thought that it was a cool idea to be able to manage renting tents and tables and chairs, to post-COVID, it will become an event space. And so managing an event calendar and being available when events happen and all of that, that's like, there's no way I have capacity to do that. So trying to figure out where inside of our building would we have capacity for that is one of our top choices. And determining, does the community actually want it? It's taking 11 parking spaces. Do people want that to continue to happen? We've been hearing a lot. So we'll probably be coming out for a survey out to the community, and I'll definitely send that if we do that to Lani, and if she wants to forward it on to you guys to send off to your resources. We would love community's input. Do you want it? Do you not want it? It'll also be talking about the rest of the outdoor seating that's taking up some of our parking spaces, on street parking spaces as well. So we would really love feedback on that.
All right, we're going to take Terry and then Sharon and then move on, unfortunately. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay. Is your position, I mean, are you a recruiter, or are you going to be like helping with the marketing of these? It seems to me that with a lot of these restaurants, it would be nice to have a comprehensive list and locational map of all of these wonderful resources that could be, made available to the public.
If you mean a map of where all restaurants are located, I believe the Beaverton Downtown Association's website currently has up on it a map of all businesses that are located at least in Old Town. It does not include Beaverton Central. And you can click just restaurants and turn off all other layers. And then you get this lovely list of all of the Old Town. If you mean beyond that, all of downtown, Beaverton Central and Old Town, every year we have Beaverton Restaurant Week. We will probably have it again this year. And most of the restaurants participate in that. And that always gives us a lovely map and list as well. If you're needing something beyond that, of course, let us know and we can see what we can do. But those tend to be the best user-friendly lists and maps that are out there. Other than, of course, Google.
Thank you.
All right, Sharon.
So Megan, I am on the Economic Vitality Subcommittee of the BDA, of the Beaverton Downtown Association.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh, it's exciting. And I have to say that one of the things that I think is probably an impossibility, but I floated the notion anyway, and I actually went through Terry as well, about whether that First Street Commons area could pursue a street vacation through Planning Commission.
And so that way it would be permanently a pedestrian area.
Yeah, the street vacations are hard to come by. There was one when I was on Planning Commission that was down off of Erickson by a church, but just exploring that, if the survey comes out that the community does want some kind of pedestrian-based space just for one block, without impeding traffic. So that was just something I floated as a possibility. It probably will not occur, but it won't if you don't ask.
Absolutely. I love new ideas. I do know that one of the other questions, if we do the survey, will also be, do you want this and do you want it year round? Well, obviously during COVID, going out in the winter, frankly, was the lifeline for some of us to get out of the house. We really needed outdoor dining spaces. We're about to have a lot of more outdoor dining with Loyal Legion and Breakside and et cetera, continuing to be out there during the winter. So would they rather have parking spaces that are closer to the restaurants during the winter and then only have the First Street Dining Commons open like May through October? That would be one of the questions I have. which then the street vacation would not work. But if folks want it year round and they actually think they're going to come out year round, because we're Pacific Northwesters, we are hardy folks, then that's maybe something that we should consider. Okay.
All right.
Ellen, was that our last question, Ellen?
No, I think we're going to have to say goodbye, but if you put any further questions can come to me or Lani and we can get them to you. And if you have any other big updates, please come back and see us.
I will do so. I'm happy to come back anytime.
Thanks very much. I love your enthusiasm. It gets me really excited and yes, very hungry. Okay. I apologize for running a little behind, but I think that was well worthwhile. We're going to go to Scott Keller and Kevin Boylan from the Climate Action Plan. You have 25 minutes, so 7:45.
Thank you, Ellen. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Keller. I have met many of you in past years, but more in the last year and a half. We have not been to BCCI for any updates and reports in COVID times. And I'm excited to be here tonight and introduce to you Kevin Boylan, who last July came on as a city employee to be our sustainability analyst and is our lead staff person on implementing the climate action plan that the city council adopted at the end of 2019. So I know you are running a bit behind schedule, so I'm gonna let that be the full introduction from me and turn it over to Kevin, who will talk to you about what he's learned and where we're going on our climate action plan work.
Thanks, Scott. I'm gonna share my screen here. And I think you all are gonna disappear when I do that. So if there are any needs to say something, just jump in and do that. Can everyone see that okay? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So Megan and food is a tough act to follow. I will try to keep up her energy and we'll see where it goes. So thank you, Scott, for that intro, and thank you all for inviting us and having me here tonight. I'm really glad to be here, and I've prepared some slides to share with you, so we'll just jump right in. Some of this might be new to some folks, so we'll start out with a review, or maybe it's just a big refresher for everyone, but we'll kind of go over the kind of high level climate action plan writ large, and then I'll share some updates, and then we'll have some time at the end for some questions and discussion. I kind of just wanted to start out with this slide. This is my climate change oversimplification graphic. I think when we talk about climate change a lot in conversation, it can quickly fall into baselines and degrees Celsius and greenhouse gas equivalents of methane, and it's just not accessible or very accessible, and sometimes it can really be even distracting. Unfortunately, the conversation doesn't really lend itself to neat buckets, but I think a simplification can just help to keep our eye on the right targets, which is reducing emissions and managing the impacts. There are all sorts of ways to do both, but both require changes to business as usual. So the BCAP, which I'm guessing a lot of you are familiar with, is kind of the basis for changing that business as usual, for looking at the status quo and kind of looking to challenge it a little bit. It exists and was adopted to address the community's role in that equation around emissions, to help reduce the community's emissions and to kind of prepare for the coming reality, or the reality that's already here, of a lot of these impacts. The plan addresses this through actions that are classified as either mitigation or adaptation actions. Your mitigation actions are those that will slow the release of greenhouse gases. These are things like the expansion of public transportation, or the increased use of electric vehicles, reduction of food waste. Mitigation actions also include things like planting trees, or perhaps someday employing some sort of technology to capture carbon. Adaptation actions are those things that are designed to deal with the impacts that are coming or that are already here. So these are things like improved stormwater management or better response to drought or the impacts of wildfires, and oftentimes addressing infrastructure challenges, not just from natural causes, but due to migration and population growth. So they're basically the category that help us navigate our way in this new future. Looking at the BCAP, I mean, it's 86 actions, but it's really got two overarching goals. And these goals are ambitious goals, more so than even the state's own carbon reduction goals. So the first in that center box there is the community goal of 100% reduction of community emissions by 2050. And then the second box, or the third box there rather, the orange one, is concerned with city operations and those being carbon neutral by 2035. And so I guess here is kind of just for that center box especially, the work that the city performs can have an enormous impact on the community's contribution to climate change, whether it be through building codes or development priorities, transportation initiatives, how we move water around, how we deal with the utility. All of these things kind of help get at that middle goal. I guess we could say that the decision-making of the city kind of can act as a bit of a soft regulator for the city as a whole, which is why it's essential to instill a climate lens into the city's work in the same way that we do with equity or like we do with finance, where the first question is always just, what is it going to cost? We need to be asking those same questions about what does this mean for climate change? And then we can help mitigate some of the community's contributions. This is not really like something that's spelled out in the plan apart from this goal, but it really is kind of like the glue that will make it work. So just as a refresher, these are the emissions for the city. The top ones are shown there in the bars that are colored in: food, vehicles, and then electricity and gas, whether it be for commercial or industrial purposes. Earlier well, I guess at this point it was early December, we prepared an annual report on the first year of the Climate Action Plan, which I can share a copy with you all after this. It's also available online. And it gathered information from the city's different departments and programs that showed that there was activity on 42 of the plan's 86 actions. So these are kind of just a graphic of the different chapters of the plan and where the activity occurred. In that report, that identified kind of opportunities for 2020, and these are kind of some of the hot topics from the report. These are not everything that's in there. Like I said, I'll share a copy of it with you all, but these are just kind of some highlights that I've decided to put up here. I won't go through each one of them. I know we're kind of trying to keep things moving along, but some that I'll speak briefly to real quickly. The community clean energy concept is something that's being worked on by the sustainability program, and that's with PGE to offer more green energy options for the community. We're also working on fleet electrification to get more EVs into the city fleet. And this year, I'm excited to start working on a home energy score program, which is a rating system for residential homes to show their energy usage and kind of lay out the cost comparison of how energy efficiency interacts with a home and identify improvements. And I guess it's also kind of important to keep in mind that not all opportunities or all kind of activities fall within sustainability. So a lot of these will be kind of led by other teams throughout the city. So when it comes to implementation, all of those items from the previous slide, they kind of fall into this track 1 column of targeted actions. These are actions that are pretty much spelled out directly in the BCAP. Oftentimes they're individual projects. They can be new, something like the home energy score program that I mentioned, or the REACH code, or some other example of something that hasn't been worked on before. Or they can be aligned with ongoing initiatives like work around the active transportation plan, or a lot of the different recycling improvements. And a lot of these are well positioned to push priority topics. Like I mentioned, a lot of these actions fall outside the sustainability program. And when they do, we will support their efforts and report on their progress. But a large chunk of the work falls in this track 2 column, which again is not specifically spelled out when you look at the 86 actions in the plan. And it involves the culture and organizational change around climate change and climate action, and involves promoting, practicing a climate lens, having that internal education to move towards looking at projects and decisions with a mindset of how does this affect the climate? And equally as importantly, how does the climate and the new reality affect this particular initiative? It also involves improving or establishing or building upon process and feedback channels to make sure that perspectives are being heard and that there is kind of a pathway to help move activities forward. And finally, kind of the concept of taking the BCAP and weaving it into the work that the city does, and integrating it into the budget processes and the work planning processes and the long-term planning to make sure that the plan is being used in the considerations of that work and not just kind of a separate plan that exists over here off to the side. So part of that track 2 is this broader cultural change organizational piece. We've got the process and feedback channels that I just mentioned, which includes the recently established Climate Action Task Force, which we'll talk more about in a second. That'll serve as a forum for community engagement around the city's climate work. Along with that, we're planning NAC outreach and engaging the community to harness the power of what they can accomplish either outside of or in combination with the city's work. And then again, that climate lens piece that I mentioned earlier. So diving into the 3 of these, I don't know if anyone saw or was able to see probably the council meeting last Tuesday, where City Council formally established the Climate Action Task Force. So it will have 13 members, and it will set out to improve council's awareness of community perspectives related to climate change and issues around the city's climate action work. It'll help offer ways to include climate considerations when making decisions that are impacted by climate change, and ultimately listen to members of the community and give them a chance to give feedback on potential impacts of proposed policies or activities on either specific communities or the community at large. So recruitment for that will begin in April. And in the recruitment process, we're aiming to have broad representation from groups throughout the city. We'd like to see large representation from both members under 30 and from members of frontline communities. So the second kind of stop there on the track 2 is the NAC outreach. And you all are kind of our first stop on our upcoming NAC roadshow. So we'll be heading out soon to kind of give introductions and provide an overview, introduce the Beaverton Climate Challenge, and then kind of take the temperature for interest in different projects that the different NACs have their eye on. And then finally is this climate lens, this internal work that I mentioned earlier of embedding practices and plans into all of the work that the city performs and weaving it into the budget cycle and the decision-making process and just instilling this practice of asking questions of how does this impact and then chosen climate concern. Essentially, it's incorporating the BCAP into the work that's done outside of the sustainability program. The goal being to harness the entire city apparatus rather than just the power of Scott and I. And so this is a long haul effort. We all know government is not agile. It's big and slow, and we're turning a freighter here. But once it's moving in the direction that we're headed, it's going to be a powerful tool to help us accomplish our climate goals. So that's what we're working towards. And I mentioned it a second ago, so I'll plug it here as well. The Beaverton Climate Challenge. We haven't really been marketing this widely, but we plan to through the NACs. It can be found at sustainablebeaverton.com. And what it is it starts with a household energy audit. And then from there, you select from dozens and dozens of different actions or and measures that your household can take to reduce contributions to climate change. Some of them are no cost, like eating lower down on the food chain or changing the way you do your laundry. And some of them have some cost in whether it's upgrading the type of vehicle you drive or the type of energy you purchase or insulation and whatnot. So it's all kind of gamified, they say, set up to be a bit of a competition or a challenge between groups. So the plan is that we'll introduce it to the different groups, and then we'll see which household or which team of households within it can make the most reduction, and then it aggregates it all, and we can see how much both energy savings in terms of like kilowatt hours or terms of natural gas, as well as the emissions reductions that are result from all that. So it's really kind of a way to showcase the power of individual action that folks can take on their own. So yeah, that's it. I went through that, I think, rather quickly. I hope quick enough. And so thank you all for your patience and for having us here. And now we can do some questions or have some discussion. I'll welcome Scott back to help me out with some of them. And I'll take a drink of water while you choose who talks first.
All right, I see Joe first with his hand raised, then Eric, then Birgit.
Okay, a question would be on this climate action task force coming up. Are you looking for any particular kind of background for people to be on this task force?
So the idea is to get kind of a broad representation of perspectives is our goal. We don't want it to be stacked with academics or industry experts when we really want to hear how decisions that are being made affect members of the community. So I think the plan is to encourage people to have an interest or maybe a slight background in something related to the climate or the topic area, which is so broad that it would probably be hard not to. But we'd really want to prioritize getting a diverse array of perspectives.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
With respect to the community clean power, so you mentioned that you're working with PGE on that. How receptive have they been?
They're receptive. Yeah, they're totally receptive. That started before I arrived, so Scott might have more background, but I can say that right now, where that is at is they're working with the PUC at this point, as well as through legislative channels. There's been legislation introduced this year, which we'll see if it ever gets read, that will determine whether or not the PUC can establish different types of kind of tariff mechanisms to support the clean energy projects. But in terms of their responsiveness, Scott, right, this is something that they kind of came to us with, and neighboring municipalities for how to expand into what they've clearly recognized is the way forward for their industry.
Yeah, right at about the time that we adopted our climate action plan in November of 19, they came to us and said, your plan is more aggressive than the state's goals and more aggressive than our goals. So we need to figure out a way to help Beaverton, Milwaukee, Portland, and Multnomah County each meet their respective goals so that we can all be successful. So they started some conversations with us then and have been very eager to continue those conversations as we look to the future. It's a big task to try to generate enough renewable power for even these 4 big communities, but it's something they've been very eager to join in and help us look forward for.
So I guess with that in mind, have you guys not really looked at community solar, things like that, doing it on your own because they've been, I guess, responsive enough?
They have been responsive enough. That doesn't mean that there won't be solar options and other scenarios to look at. So far, we've kind of looked at, we could get the biggest bang for our buck by working with the big power provider for Beaverton to try to make that be as green as possible. And then once that's kind of on its kind of glide path to hopeful success, then we want to look at a number of other options that would include individual and community solar and various other scenarios.
Thank you.
Okay, OJ, go ahead.
So I heard you say you wanted people on the task force under 30 and something else I didn't understand, but or I didn't quite hear what you said. And so do I have to lie about my age? Is that what it boils down to? And how do you get those people?
Absolutely not. You don't need to lie about your age. So I'm hesitant to use the word aspirational, but the idea behind that kind of having representation of members under the age of 30 is that those are the folks that are going to be dealing with the long-term impacts of climate change. Whereas the rest of us, we might be gone by then. So there is a push from the mayor to have a certain percentage of the task force represented by youth, but not the whole thing at all.
And then what was the other group you mentioned?
Yeah, I said frontline communities, which is just a term for those kind of who are impacted first and worst by the impacts of climate change, which is typically members of underserved communities, traditionally the BIPOC community, and other minority groups.
Okay, but okay.
Just to add another thought on what Kevin was saying is that we think that the council's desire and our desire is to have a very effective climate action task force. But we also recognize that it's not going to be the only engagement opportunity that we need with Beaverton, and that you as BCCI members who are from all the neighborhoods associations are going to be a regular communicator about what we're working on, and we want to hear what you have as ideas and suggestions for actions or implementation, so that we do it equitably and we do it in a way that both achieves success in a way that the community can support. So yes, there will be a climate action task force, but really all of the city's kind of entire structure will be involved at various times, including you and the groups that you go back to in your own neighborhoods are all going to be really important to make this really be successful.
Yeah, Scott, that's really great. But I have been on BCCI, and this is my passion. You know, I mean, you can hear I'm from Germany, and we have been dealing with this for a long time. I mean, somehow you are really behind here, but in that, and at least in that. So being aware. So it has been always really a passion of mine. That's why I'm really excited about what you have been presenting, and also about the task force. And it's totally okay to have young people there. But I would like, you know, like I would, there's also other people who can give input, obviously. So yeah, thank you for explaining though. Thank you.
Okay, Sharon, and then we'll go to Eric last, and then we'll move on. Thanks.
Well, Joe pretty much hit on one of my points, and Birgit did the other. One was the age, and the other was the solar. And I know that in the past, BCCI had hosted a greener summit where there was an entity that actually was doing a presentation on solar, and you could sign up for it at a reduced cost way back in the day. And I didn't know if that was going to, at that time, the roof on my house would not support solar. So now I have a new roof, and it would be great to do that. So if there is going to be something that is a city-wide offering, I would be excited to be a part of that. I've already got an electric vehicle. Now I want to go solar panel. So, so that, and then the home energy score as well. I'm really excited about that, and the challenge, the Beaverton Climate Challenge, are very exciting to see. And as one of the NEC chairs, I'll be seeing you.
Excellent.
Maybe this was in the presentation, I just missed it, but with respect to the frontline communities, I mean, have you looked into weatherization, things like that?
Weatherization initiatives for homes for energy efficiency.
Yep.
So that's actually also in the report from last year of a project that we did with Community Action for, it was partially funded. Scott, you can speak better to the funding mechanism than I can, but it was, I think they did 35 homes where they averaged, I forget how many thousands of dollars for energy efficiency improvements. So maybe that's something we'll be able to partner with them again to do in the future.
We had some leftover money from back in the 2008, 2009 federal stimulus package of 10 years ago. We had some unspent money from that was required to be for some sort of energy efficiency sort of project. It was originally envisioned as a revolving loan fund. People didn't want to take out a loan to do this work. They wanted it done. And so the city council added some money to that. And so we spent about $130,000 over about a year period to assist a number of low-income households to improve the weatherization energy efficiency of their houses. It was a great program. We would say it was probably a pilot because we'd like to repeat it. It ended when the pandemic began, and we haven't kind of really figured out at this point when the next phase of that will happen. But it is in our desire, and maybe the next federal stimulus will enable us to have another bucket of money to be able to help more people who don't always have the means to do what they want to do.
Great, thank you. Do you have contact information that we can, just if we have any questions, we can shoot someone an email or?
Sure, yeah, you can shoot me an email.
Right.
I'll put my email in the chat.
Yeah, and or just get it to Lani, and Lani can get it out to us, and Lani can get Kevin's email address to you all. So.
Yeah, and I'll get a copy of the PowerPoint, and it probably has your contact information in there as well. I'll send that out so you, for you NEC reps, that you'll have that for your board meeting.
All right, thanks, guys. We look forward to hearing from you in the future with great success. Thanks for coming. You can stick around or head out. Now we're going to, thanks, guys. We're going to Terry with a traffic calming update. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. As you recall, our last BCCI meeting, we had Jabra Kashko come by and tell us about the traffic calming program. And as a result of our meeting, we crafted a letter and sent it to the Traffic Commission for their March 4th meeting. And in that we hit on, I think I shared that letter was shared with all of you. So feedback from the Traffic Commission. Turns out they were focused on traffic calming on their agenda because they have a number of new members and they wanted to inform them about the program. And Jabra gave them the same presentation that he gave us at BCCI last month. So from that, there was a discussion about some of the points that we raised in our letter about issues that we have with respect to the way the traffic calming program measures the eligibility of a project that is brought forth in any given NAC, and the fact that the hurdles that are created in the program regarding votes and how you count votes have rendered a number of otherwise projects that were heavily promoted by the NAC, but for one reason or another, the way the traffic calming program writes their rules, these projects didn't succeed. So the Traffic Commission members, if I can characterize it, and I'll just mention that Kenneth Etheridge and Adam Gretzinger were also there and gave some presentations regarding traffic calming in their neighborhoods and their thoughts on the program. And they can certainly chime in at any given time. Anyway, so we listened to the discussion and it became, at least I'll just give my opinion, less than clear that the Traffic Commission was interested in forging ahead with a modification to their program. So taking that thought process, we decided as a subgroup that we really wanted to push this issue. And so what we are suggesting is that we have a combination of some information, and the information includes a letter that was drafted by Adam, and the letter is directed to NAC leaders regarding the traffic calming program and some of the issues that we noted regarding the program that lead to failed projects, and recruiting them basically to join with us to convince the Traffic Commission that they need to change their rules. So we have this letter that's still in draft form, but it's pretty much a final draft. And then we met earlier this evening with Miles Glowacki, and he has volunteered to collect some facts about traffic calming and traffic calming programs to, again, be some supporting documentation to the NAC leaders. And ultimately, this letter kind of introducing the NAC board and chairs to this issue. In addition to this fact-filled list of projects, we are hoping to go to each NAC and talk to them about specific changes to the traffic calming program. And we decided that in order to ensure that this project is done equally, it's done the same way in every NAC, we're going to have members of our subcommittee have volunteered to attend NAC meetings. We're targeting April, and talk to each NAC and complete a survey, just a couple of simple questions in a survey to collect this information so we can take it back to the Traffic Commission and hopefully illustrate that there's a broad support in taking a look at the changing the traffic calming program. So actually we have, so how does that sound, everybody? Kanat or Adam, do you have anything you want to add, or any of the other members of the subcommittee?
That was a real good summary, Terry. I think this is kind of the first piece of looking at how to make this a more successful process to everybody that's been involved. And hopefully, I think that's a good place to start. I think our original subcommittee meeting, we talked about getting additional feedback and more comprehensive feedback. And so that also meets that objective.
Yes, thank you.
And I think what I would add is that, at least my takeaway has been, if we don't push on this, nothing will happen. So, you know, if this is something that we want to affect change, if the NACs want change, we're going to have to kind of get together and push this. Otherwise, as Terry said, Traffic Commission's not particularly interested in changing the way things are. So it's kind of on us to push this forward.
And that's true, Eric. And I had a thought that we might contact the visioning committee, the visioning advisory committee, because they are in their outreach process, developing their outreach process. And part of what they endeavor to do is to do a community survey related. And I know that when I was on that committee, that traffic calming was something that came up, and might be worthwhile to contact them and see if they have any plans to have this as part of the survey. And if not, could they?
So I guess, thank you. And I guess for an action item, we are looking for maybe, what do you think, 10 minutes on the next agenda of each NAC to talk about, and we would like to supply the letter and then the fact sheet to every NAC with their agenda. And again, in the meanwhile, we will also come up with these survey questions. And again, the survey feeds back into a specific point that was raised during the Traffic Commission meeting, that they wanted to hear from all of the NACs. And so we want to give the Traffic Commission the data that they specifically asked for. And again, it's kind of hopefully will be one of those hooks that we will say, okay, we went out and we gathered the information as suggested, and this is what it says. And so we hope to go to the Traffic Commission. They're not meeting in April. And if we can wrap this up so that we can be available with this information the first Thursday in May, that would be the first available opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, like NACs don't meet or we're not able to accomplish it, we'll probably go first Thursday in June. So that's our marching orders. You will probably see one of the members of the subcommittee or at your NAC meeting. And we probably need about 10 minutes on the agenda. So any questions?
I see thumbs up. Terry, you've been doing so much work for both this and the new website about land use and development. Kudos. Thank you so much. You're a force to be reckoned with.
Well, we got a lot of great input from our subcommittees members, so that's always great. Thanks.
All right. No questions? Okay. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes from last month? Comments, changes? Okay. All those, I need a motion, sorry, to approve the minutes.
I move to approve last month's minutes.
I'll
And
second.
a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Joe. All right, all those in favor of approving last month's minutes as written? Raise your hand. All right, all those opposed? Heminder opposed, abstaining? Okay, the minutes have been accepted. Thank you. We do not have a city council available, city councilor available, so our usual councilor wasn't available, and with such short notice, we weren't able to get a backup. So maybe we'll allot some more time for that next month. Now we're going to go into subcommittee reports. There were no matching grants discussed in the past month. We did receive one, so we'll probably have an update next month. Joe, do you want to update us on the event subcommittee? Oh, sorry, Lani.
Yeah, I was just thinking, does anyone else want to serve on the matching grant subcommittee, since we are going to schedule another meeting to review that application? We currently have Birgit, Ellen, and Frosty on that committee, and we're happy to have more folks on there. So if you want to give some thought to that, just send me an email and we'll make sure you get the invite for that next meeting. And we always send out a doodle poll to see when you're available. And it's a fairly minimal time commitment, but you get to have fun reviewing the applications that come in and then report out to the full group.
It's actually the best subcommittee. I mean, just hands down, it's the most fun. It's the most heartwarming. I really enjoy being part of it. I hope to continue being a part of it. Okay. Anything else? Okay, now to Joe. Go for it.
Okay, well, make it quick here. First question, Lani, the THPRD, they agreed to be the co-sponsors, right? Okay, all right, good. So what I'm going to do, Eric's not here. Eric and I kind of do this together, but I'll be sending out an email to all the co-sponsors to get some details from them. The logo, be sending out information to them about the forum and the deadline for questions. Then I'll send out a series of emails to the candidates, both for the City Council and THPRD listing. This just, by the way, this came in the mail. I don't know if you can see that on my doorstep. The three candidates for PHDRD. Lani, have you heard of anybody else besides these three people?
No, those are the three that filed. So the filing deadlines passed. So those are the three, along with the 5 folks that applied or that filed for the city council seat.
Okay, so I'll be sending out an email to all of them, ask them if they want to be on the forum, and then Eric will probably contact them for details or vice versa. I can't think of anything else. Lani, can you think of anything else?
Just be thinking of questions, and for you NAC reps, feel free to go back to your neighborhood meeting and say, let's have some fun submitting some NAC questions on behalf of the NAC.
Right.
You know, Highland kind of stole the show last time.
Good. Okay.
No problem with that, but it was kind of fun. You guys can all steal some of the action.
That's all I got, Ellen.
All right, and since Bintu is not here to defend herself, I'm going to nominate her to do another video. Anybody has any other marketing ideas or any other volunteers, present or not, get in touch with Joe.
Okay, one quickie. The postcard's going to go out on April 7th, right, Lani? To every household about the forum. So just keep in mind, it should be coming to you sometime after April 7th. Okay, that's it.
Okay, now back to Terry, land use goddess.
Hello. So a brief update on the website initiative. We were at our subcommittee meeting, which was right before this, we were given a presentation by Miles, who has been feverishly working on converting our very obtuse outline into web language and web images. And we just got a taste of it, and it's really come to life. He's really done a nice job in taking our words and turning them into pictures and links and a narrative. And I think it's going to be a really wonderful resource for all of anybody who lands on that and wants to learn about land use. So it's really coming along. He told me he can't share the work he's done because if he posts it, then it becomes live. So there's no way to look at a draft webpage apparently. So the next step is that he's going to send the subcommittee, he's going to send me, and then I'll share it with the subcommittee, all of the words that he has created associated with the topics that we had on our outline. And again, I think that outline has been shared with all members of BCCI like for last month. So you should have that link somewhere when I say the outline. And so what we'll do is that he's asked us to edit that and make sure that that the content, effectively the words that he grabbed words from here and there, and he came up with some new verbiage. And he wants us in the land use subcommittee to edit that. And so that's going to be our task over the next month. And he also says admittedly, he has some gaps, like, for example, a glossary. It's really hard to come up with a comprehensive glossary as an individual, but as a group, I think it is more effective. Like, what are some words that would be used and need to be defined in the land use world, that and in words that maybe are a little more user friendly than might be in the code or something like that. So that's another action item. And then after that, after the land use subcommittee has kind of had an opportunity to do as much as we can, we're going to share that with all of you. And we're also going to make sure that you share it with people who don't know anything about land use. Right now, I'm assuming most of people on BCCI have had at least a taste of land use. And if there are some acronyms or concepts that are in there that are not understandable, we want to know about that. You're going to be our first beta group. And so that will probably be in a month or two. And then there will be an opportunity to present or to create new content. You know, again, we talked about maybe a video or something like that, where somebody takes 1 or 2 minutes to talk about a topic that would be, again, a more of an interactive link on our land use subpage, a land use page, neighborhood page. So anyway, anybody else on the committee want to share any thoughts or things that occurred to them? Okay, well, more to come. We're moving forward, and it's becoming real. It's great. Thank you.
Terry, thank you. I got a vision of Schoolhouse Rock with the bill sitting on Capitol Hill. So I think a video would be great.
Yeah. I think we know somebody who'd be really good at creating that video too. So we got a couple of good media faces.
Especially because they're not present right now, and we can volunteer them, right?
You noticed.
Okay, now I just wanted to take a few minutes for an update for myself. We've had a few executive team meetings, and we've decided to bring back the NAC updates and carve out some time for that, because that was happening when I very first started. And I think that's a great way to connect everybody we're supposed to be connecting. So, and they're only going to be, they're short, like 2 or 3 minutes, and I won't put you on the spot now, but next month, if you have a NAC update, something that you think we need to know because it's awesome and it's happening in your NAC, I'll be asking for Max to sign up and sort of put something in the chat so I can have a list going when we get to that agenda item. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. And the other thing I wanted to do is, even though it's only March, is bring up elections. I'll hit my term limit as chair this year, so we need a new chair for next year. And it sort of gets pushed to the end of the year, and then there's not enough time to sort of think about it and mentor. And so I'm opening it up now. Lani is the most amazing mentor I've ever had, and I went from not even considering it to being amazingly grateful for this opportunity. So there's a lot of support here. There's not a lot that you have to, there's not a big time commitment. It's more just like an attention and a presentation commitment for doing the meetings. And so please put that in the back of your mind. Would you like to think about that? Maybe we'll come to you and prod you a little bit if we think you're a good candidate. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront in the spring, so it's not a big surprise when we bring it up in the fall and winter. Any questions about any of that, BCCI in general? All right, I'll turn it over to Lani for the city update.
Great. Okay, so just a few quick updates. The first one was the mayor had her first State of the City at March 4th earlier this month. And this is where she highlighted what's happened last year and the opportunities that are coming down the pipeline this year. And she featured unique perspectives from business leaders, community partners, and more. And she also highlighted Beaverton's response to COVID-19, the ongoing recovery efforts, homelessness, housing, and public safety as well. And so if you didn't get a chance to see it on March 4th, we definitely have it online. And I'll put it in the chat here, but it's on our webpage at beavertonoregon.gov/SOTC, because we like acronyms, SOTC. And you can check it out at any time. And then the next item is the May special election. As you know, we're pretty well versed on this one because we're hosting the voters forum, but the deadline was last Thursday. We had 5 candidates that filed for the open city council seat. And this is to fill Mayor Beatty's council seat that she vacated when she became mayor. And we keep all the elections information. You can see who filed, has their filing forms there, so you can go there tonight and check out all the details. And we keep that on our webpage at beavertonoregon.gov/election. And then the other news item is that we have the Public Safety Center plaza naming. This is an opportunity for the community to get involved. We're looking for folks to submit their naming suggestions for the recently completed outdoor public plaza at Beaverton's Public Safety Center. And we have a deadline to note, and that's March 31st. And the process is pretty simple. You can go online, and we've got an online form at beavertonoregon.gov/PSC Plaza. And you can submit suggestions. And if that's not a convenient method for people, you can also call. And that number is 503-526-2543. And just a few kind of guidelines to keep in the back of your mind if you're sharing this detail. Any suggestion is welcome. I can include a Beaverton resident, either deceased or living, a tribal name, or a general suggestion. A detailed explanation to give context for consideration is requested. And just a general tip, the more details you can provide, the more helpful that is. And we have a committee of volunteers that are reviewing all the public submissions, and they'll make a selection of 3 to 5 names for City Council's consideration in June. And then the last piece to that is that there will be an unveiling event held in August, either virtual or in person or a combination thereof, to celebrate the name selection, and then to also celebrate the recently completed installation of public art sculpture in the plaza. And then the last piece of news is the city manager recruitment. As you know, we're getting ready to go for the long-term position. Right now we have the interim city manager. And so we keep all the information about this process on our website updated. And that's at beavertonoregon.gov/city manager. And right now with the recruitment process, it's underway. And there's a community survey that has launched for the public input to get some information and input from the community about key city initiatives and even desired qualities to guide the city in hiring this person. And then in terms of timeline, the appointment's expected to occur in the summer, following by an early onboarding. So that's that. And then I think the other piece that's not part of the city update, but I just wanted to get the date on your radar, is we usually do an effective meetings training for all boards and commissions and NAC members. And we wanted to feature a trainer that specializes in virtual meetings, you know, how to really transfer all that know-how to the virtual format. And so we have that general training scheduled for April 22nd at 6 p.m. And this person, we just kicked off one training with the staff liaisons a week and a half ago, and it was really fantastic. So I'm really hoping you guys can consider putting that date on your calendar. And I think there's some really great takeaways since it really is a different format to run board meetings. There's so many things we can do in person that don't necessarily transfer easily to the virtual format. And so save the date for that, and I hope to see you there. So any questions or any other types of things that have come down the pipeline at a NAC meeting that you'd like some more details on?
A question about the virtual meetings. Do you have a sense from the city how long they plan to continue to do meetings like this virtually?
Yeah, so I think I'm not sure when City Hall is going to open, but while City Hall's closed, we'll do 100% virtual. But I do think the wave of the future will be probably doing a hybrid version where we have meetings held in person, but also allow folks to connect virtually. And I think that's going to be the next. So once we finally get this all figured out, then we go to a whole nother format of merging the two worlds together. So just know that that's probably the next in between phase. But once City Hall opens to the public, I'll probably do a survey to all of you and ask, what's everyone's comfort level. And then at some point we'll launch into a hybrid version so that people can participate in person. And then if they're just not ready for that, they can still participate by joining us via Zoom.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, just like to say, I got my second shot today.
Hey.
We'll get there. I really want to hope that we'll have an in-person meeting this year. It's my goal. So Joe's there. First of all, we'll get there. We're just not blessed with this experience. Okay. Any other questions before we go to actionable items to remember? All right, Sharon, you're on.
Okay, so I'll try and hit there was a lot of stuff. So with Chris and Sally, they have put their information in the chat in case you want to get involved in Positive Charge PDX for any kind of vaccine help that they're initiating. There were any kind of follow-up, and I'm just going to cluster this together. So Ronda from the police department, Megan, and Scott and Kevin, they have put their information in the chat in case you have any feedback or questions for them. I think Megan was way too, she just wasn't excited about this whole thing. It was amazing. And so the climate action change, there were some specific things on that I will get into a little bit more, and that is the NAC Roadshow, so be aware of that. So coming to your NAC. Also recruitment for the Climate Action Task Force. Some of us have to get fake IDs so that we're less than 30. And then the survey, oh no, that's for the traffic. So Lani is going to absorb all the feedback, I guess, for Kevin and Scott to bring back to them. Traffic calming update. So April NAC meetings, there's going to be a survey, 10 minutes on the agenda so that they can bring back, the fact sheet will go out and then bring back information to the Traffic Commission after that. And matching grants, if you're interested in becoming a part of that subcommittee, please let Lani know. Voters Forum, please get questions, whether it's from your NACs or from yourself or others in the community, to Lani as well. Then the postcard will go out on the 7th. The land use website, there's going to be a text review. So especially look at it from the standpoint of lay language. So come give it to your spouse, give it to your next door neighbor to look over. I already told my husband during the break that he's getting this. The NAC updates are coming back, so be ready to sign up and be a part of that. And also the elections that are coming up, please consider if you would like to be on the exec board. And as far as the final is from the city update. So if you haven't seen it, review the state of the city. Also, you can check out the city council candidates on the website. So Lani, I hope you're putting that contact information into that if you haven't already. The safety center, there will be a deadline of the end of this month for coming up with naming of the plaza. The unveiling will be in August. That will and I'm assuming that that's the plaza with Blessing Hancock's sculpture. Okay. All right. So, and then the city manager process and also the effective meetings virtual with a component of virtual emphasis will be on April 22nd at 6 p.m. That's it.
Way to go, champ.
Very good. Fake IT. I love it. Sorry.
I was with you, Birgit.
Except then that puts you further back in line to get your COVID vaccine. So
Already got mine. I'm old.
Yeah, no, I'm not that old. I'm just in the middle anyway. It doesn't matter.
I'm really old.
Just Birgit and I just celebrated our 29th birthday. I don't know what you're okay. Just comment. Do you have something?
Oh, just that it, along with the survey about the traffic calming, there's a presentation that they're hoping to provide for all the NACs at the same time. And that if we're assuming that we have volunteers from this group and we'll need help with organizing the presentation for the open groups. Does that make
we kind of lost
sense?
you a bit there, but I understand that we need
volunteers to do the presentation at the NAC meetings for related to the traffic calming process and what as well as obtaining survey information.
So testimony like, here's what happened to my neighbor. Here's why it's needed. Here is maybe why the process needs to be revamped. And Lani put a lot of things in the chat. The voters forum is moving to 6:30, but the link will stay the same. There's a link to the elections, the public safety center plaza naming, state of the city, and the city manager recruitment process. And we are we're on time. We're really close to on time. So thank you so much.
Ellen, real quick, do people in this group know that you can save the chat by going to the ellipsis at the end of the string?
I didn't know that.
Okay,
go. I didn't know that. What?
All right, go to the end of the chat, and there's an ellipsis over on the right-hand side, 3 dots.
Oh, save chat.
Click it, and then click the save chat.
Yep. But where did it save it?
Oh, that's
It
good.
says it goes to my
Oh, I found
Finder.
it. Yeah.
Goes to my Finder. I'll have to
And
find
not
the
on an
Finder.
iPad, so.
I know. I've got a bunch of these chats I've got to go find.
So if you click on the when you save and you click on the show and folder, it will show you right away where it is, and then you can move it from there.
Until you wait a few days and you go, okay, where'd it go?
Yeah, that's right. Well, this is the first time. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
I just learned that from another group. So
Awesome.
All right, Sharon is hereby voted MVP of this meeting, and I hope you continue next month. And with that, everybody be safe. Have a good spring break. Safe spring break. That applies to you. It's been an honor. Have fun.
every day is
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.